We are live. Welcome, everybody. You probably aren't here already, so I'm just talking to myself. But for the Spotify and the YouTube people, welcome. You're obviously watching a recording of this, not the live episode. So this bit is always probably a bit weird. I always think about the Spotify and YouTube version of this and think, they probably listen to this intro and get really bored of this 90 seconds. But we are live on LinkedIn at this time, so I kind of have to give people a chance to join. And if I had more time, I would probably edit it out of the Spotify and YouTube one. But I don't have the time. So
just skip past. If you're watching the record, skip past.
Yeah, 90 seconds. Normally about 90 seconds we get started. But yeah, welcome everybody. If you are here already, jump onto the comments, say hello, tell us where you're from. Tell Wellbeing Lead, because apparently Emily's changed her name to the Wellbeing Lead instead of
by default and trademarked.
And then tell us where you're from, say hello. If you have any questions throughout this, please feel free to ask Emily. Add as much questions and insights as possible. And if you've done her Wellbeing Lead Academy course, then please also add your findings and what you found really good from that as well. But look, it is 90 seconds in, so let's get started. Good afternoon. It's now 2 minutes past this afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to have you here on this conversation, looking at how we can develop the Wellbeing Lead. I'm with Emily Pearson from the Wellbeing Lead Academy. Thank you for putting your name as that, because actually now I can remember it. To talk about how we develop the Wellbeing Lead and talk about her program and how she's doing that and some of the best ways that you can do that as in organizations. We're also going to look at wellbeing strategies and understand how we can really create good wellbeing strategies. So not only developing the Wellbeing Lead, but also when you're in that role, how we're developing the wellbeing of that organization. If you don't know who I am, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name's Rich. I am a high performance executive coach, wellbeing coach, leadership trainer, learning development trainer, I guess, as well in there, in a way, but looking at performance and how we create that with a base of wellbeing there as well. My passion is sport, so I use those lessons from sports and how we create that as a professional, both from the individual, team and coaching standpoint, or manager leader standpoint, as well as owning Employee Health, which is a wellbeing education company, which is tied into what we're on now, the wellbeing chat, and helping people just understand how they can look after wellbeing, both as an individual, so how you can look after wellbeing as an individual, but as well as an organization. How can we create better wellbeing strategies or better wellbeing tools in our workplace to make sure that our people are thriving? So I'm lucky to have Emily here today to talk about that side of all of it. So that's me done. If you want to know more, drop me a line. Anyway, over to you, Emily. I've done my part.
Well, can I just say that you forgot to add in that you were also now a high performer and karaoke singer as well.
I did do one song on karaoke and then hid for the rest of it. So I'm not sure whether I can high performing, or I understand I only have to perform once really well.
Your one's really well. That's all you have to do, isn't it? It's like you just got to swim 2 lengths of the pool as fast as you possibly can. That's how you highly perform. So well done to you, Rich. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for having us here.
No problem. What the worst thing about that was Charlie upended me when he come on and joined him again, singing better than I did. So I'm not sure I even performed as well. But anyway, back into you, Emily. Tell me who you are, what you do.
So yes, my name's Emily Pearson, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Wellbeing Lead Academy. A lot of you will have, if you've been following workplace wellbeing for a long time, may know me from Our Minds Work. That was my previous business that I closed down last year, the back end of last year, with the whole purpose of creating the Wellbeing Lead Academy, which is how we have a brand new mission, brand new vision, brand new brand, still doing amazing stuff. My background is health and social care. So I've worked in health and social care for 15 years before I came into working in the world of workplace wellbeing, which was a brand new marketplace, really, or field. I like to call them fields. It was a brand new field to work in. And my transition from health and social care, so in health and social care, I worked as a practitioner and a qualified health and social care trainer in various different diverse settings, everything from criminal justice to recovery services, mental health, homelessness, dual diagnosis, children and young people, and adult service as well. So did quite a lot in those 15 years. I was actually working with Mind at the time, around about 10 years ago now, delivering all of this health and social care training for other professionals. When I had the opportunity to be part of the Blue Light Programme, which was a government commissioned programme with the aim of improving mental health and well-being, but mental health mainly of emergency service personnel. So the government had recognised that there were huge issues when it came to mental health in emergency services. Not only were there experiencing high levels of trauma, vicarious trauma, even down to, a lot of lone working, very high risk job and role. But then also on top of that, a lot of the cuts were having an impact as well. So they were obviously beginning to burn out. So not only were they experiencing PTSD-like symptoms, they were also experiencing high levels of burnout. And when we did the research, what we found was that around 1 in 4 of emergency service personnel had thoughts of suicide over the past 6 months. So these kind of statistics were really, really concerning. And when you actually look at the demographics of emergency services, they're majority male as well. So that added an additional challenge into the mix. But we had an extremely successful first year. Myself, part of the development team, we developed and piloted the Blue Light Programme, and it was a huge success nationally. So much to the point where the government commissioned it for another couple of years, and it's actually still running now. There are still parts of the Blue Light Programme that, if you are interested in reading about it, you can find on the Mind website, on National Mind's website. And that was really my entry point, going from working in the health and social care sector actually into workplaces. And it was also my introduction to mental health in the workplace, but for culture change. So I was able to bring a lot of my knowledge and experience of health and social care, behaviour change, recovery into this new world of the workplace. That was really intriguing for me. So as I always do, I became obsessed with it, and learned as much as I possibly could about this. But it was brand new. There was very, very little out there in terms of mental health and well-being in the workplace. So we were actually part of the movement that created where we are now, 10 years later, where we've gone beyond just mental health in the workplace, now looking into well-being on a much broader spectrum. But we've still got a long way to go. But really, that was my introductory point from health and social care into the world of workplace well-being.
Nice. It seems quite, oh God, it seems like quite a journey into that as well. What's the learnings from the health and social care into the wellbeing space? What can you see the collaborations and the learnings between the two?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's all complex. We are looking at complex systems. The human is a complex system within ourselves, our health, our well-being, our genes, the education that we have around health and well-being, the issues that we face in terms of how trauma may impact us, our behaviours. Humans are a complex system to start off with. Then you look at that complex system within social care. You then see the determinants of poor mental health and well-being being caused by the social setting. And, our societies is a system within itself. And again, built up of lots of complex, messy human beings. society becomes complex as well, but has huge impacts on mental health and well-being. And then what we've done here is we've then brought those systems into a workplace system. So the organization is a system in itself. The workforce is a system. So we have these set of systems that we are trying to improve mental health and well-being, but we can't really turn the dial on that without changing all of those systems. Just trying to change one of those systems is not going to give us the impact that we need. We see this a lot with suicide prevention. I mean, I can't even begin to think of how long we've been talking about reducing suicide rates, zero suicide, aiming towards that. But when you actually look at the initiatives, they're often very much just focused on the individual rather than trying to change the systems and trying to change the society and the issues that we have in society that potentially cause heightened levels of suicide as well. So for me, that they're the learnings that I bring into workplace wellbeing. Is we can't just we can't just invest in these initiatives that look at the individuals. We've got to look at systems changes. That's the only way that we can get true culture change, and for it to be long lasting and have a big impact as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because it is a complex system, right? Human beings are complex, but then also the organizations can be really complex within that as well. So it's understanding there. Can you see Ryan's written comment? Are you seeing that on your side?
Oh, I can see Ryan. What's he got? 2 fried eggs there? Are there 2 fried eggs?
It's lovely to see 2 good eggs.
Ryan, good eggs.
So yeah, I think with that, I think let's look into what you're doing now. So you've given us some insights into what you've done. Tell me more about the Wellbeing Lead Academy, and tell me a bit more about what you're doing with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Wellbeing Lead Academy does exactly what it says on the tin. Our vision really is to professionalize and elevate the wellbeing lead role into a seat in the boardroom, because ultimately for any business to achieve high levels of employee well-being, high levels of engagement, it has to be led in the boardroom. And until we get wellbeing leads actually sat in that boardroom, we're just really scratching the surface. And we do that through building an education provision. So we have the only accredited career pathway of qualifications for anyone leading in wellbeing at work, with our level 3, which is happening in October. This is a complete entry-level qualification. So even if you're in finance and you want to follow your passion around workplace wellbeing, you can come into the level 3 as an entry-level qualification. Our level 4 will be coming next year, and our level 5, we've been running that for a good couple of years already now, and have qualified wellbeing leads from organisations like Sky, Principal Cleaning, lots of organisations that are local government are very interested in the level 5 qualification as well. So this is why we call ourselves the Wellbeing Lead Academy. That is our vision, to educate and qualify through our accredited career pathway to elevate and professionalise the wellbeing lead role into a boardroom role.
I love that. I think it's obviously super important. The challenge I see is this term wellbeing lead is that not many people really understand it. So you see the jobs being advertised for the wellbeing lead, and actually when I speak to people who are going for those jobs, because I don't, obviously, I'm hearing, well, I go for this interview, but it's not what it is on the tin. It's not a wellbeing lead role. There is so much confusion behind what being a wellbeing lead is. So be interested to hear what you think a wellbeing lead is, and just to clear up that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are so right, Rich. I heard somebody talking the other day that an organisation, I can't remember the name now, had evaluated 200 job descriptions for wellbeing leads based on recruitment drives for wellbeing leads, and then built training around it. And my first thought was, exactly what you're saying. When people are recruiting for wellbeing leads, they don't have a clue what a wellbeing lead does, or what a wellbeing lead should be doing. So for us, a wellbeing lead at this level that our level 5, develops them into, is a strategic leader of health and wellbeing, which aims to tackle the problems that health and wellbeing causes in the workplace. So they will be focused on goals like improving, decreasing sickness absence, improving presenteeism, improving engagement levels, because they're ultimately the outcomes. They're the things you see when humans are thriving. And Wellbeing Leads' strategic goal is to ensure that everybody is at work as much as possible. And when they're at work, they're functioning well. So they're performing highly. That's ultimately what well-being at work is. It's people being at work, functioning well and feeling good. When people are at work, functioning well and feeling good, then they're less likely to want to leave. They'll be happier at work. They'll be more productive. They're more engaged. And then this creates a culture of care. This creates a culture where well-being is seen as one of the most important drivers of successful businesses, but also for human thriving as well. That's a huge job, right? And at no point ever is mental health first aid going to get you there. So what a lot of people think that a wellbeing lead does is more around organize events, an event campaign organizer, look after the team of mental health first aiders. But qualified and credible wellbeing lead will understand what a wellbeing strategy is, how to collect the right data and ensure that it's data-driven and solution-focused. They will know how to deliver that strategy across 4 years, ensuring continuous improvement, making sure, again, that we're investing in the things that we need to invest because of employee needs, rather than just because it's trending right now. I saw a lot of that with the menopause trend. We would have organisations come to us and say, so we've done menopause, but they had a 90% male workforce and had done nothing around men's health. So, jumping onto trends means that you're not listening, you're not understanding the demographics of your workforce. And then also a strategic wellbeing lead will also know how to change the organizational system. So what are the areas within an organization that needs to be changed to make sure that that organization is doing all that it possibly can to prevent poor mental health, poor physical health, and poor well-being, and also making sure that they're doing everything that they can to improve their culture around well-being and support for people, and to also ensure that that culture change is brought in and led from the top and it's well resourced. It's a huge job. It's an absolute huge job. I mean, our level 5 qualification is 370 hours of learning. It's the equivalent of doing a foundation degree. That's the level of what a wellbeing lead is to us at the Wellbeing Lead Academy, and what we need if we want to get this role into the boardroom. It needs to be a strategy role.
Yeah, I think when I see it from the outside, not your Wellbeing Lead Academy, but just the Wellbeing Lead role, there is that confusion behind, is it the delivery? And I think when people go for the Wellbeing Lead role, who are seeing it as an opportunity to do well-being, they're not seeing it from that standpoint, right? Actually understanding it is very reliant on data. You are a strategist. You are more of that side of the role than you are doing a lot of the delivery, maybe the stuff that I would do as a provider, right?
Well, that's it, isn't it? You know, if you think about the roles that are already sat in the boardroom at director level, they're not operational. They don't deliver operations. They develop the strategy and lead the business forward rather than doing the operational stuff. But the way that I think about it is, you know, a lot of organizations still don't have an HRD sat in that boardroom, around that board table. We've got a long way to go to get the Wellbeing Lead director role there, but that's our vision and that's our mission, and that's what we plan to do with, you know, the qualifications and the career pathway, and really ensuring that we professionalize and elevate this role into that strategic director level role. But yes, it's going to be a big job.
Yeah, for sure. And I know something you're working on is, or I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this on this podcast because it might be secret, but I know you're trying to work with the University of Nottingham as well to connect with their master's degree as well, because there is a next level step up, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. You know, the master's is I think there's only Nottingham University actually delivering the Masters in Health and Wellbeing at work. And you're very right. Right now, there's no career pathway into that. You usually have to already have a level 6 to get onto the Masters. So yeah, we're just looking for opportunities with the university to see if we can really support open participation for the Masters, because some of our level 5 learners are passing their qualification, you know, with really high levels of their assessments and marking, which would, for me, say that they would have the knowledge, the skills, and the capabilities and capacities to go on to the Masters if that's what they chose to do. And that would really help us to solidify this career pathway. One of the things that the Masters, how the Masters and the level 5 is very different, is the Masters is very theoretical. You know, it's all about the theory, where the level 5 is much more practical. It's about how do you actually do this as well. And that's because we develop the level 5 like an apprenticeship. So you are the learners are learning and then actually applying it in their day-to-day job as the wellbeing lead. So you can only come onto the level 5 if you're already, you know, leading wellbeing in a workplace. So that there are also two very different ways of looking at health and wellbeing, and two different qualifications that are going to give different set of knowledge, skills, and behaviours as well that we want for capable wellbeing leads to lead with. Yeah,
I love how yours is practical, because I think that's the important part. A lot of degrees, probably myself included, I think I was actually pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky because I went into the field of sports science, right, and coaching. That it can be just very theoretical. It can be very much, this is what you're going to learn and show us that you can learn, rather than actually how do you apply this, which I think is also super, super important when you look at it as a role in itself. What I'd like to know is actually the detail. So you said you got a level 3 and you got a level 5, and then a number 4 coming as well. What's the detail, or what do you go through as the key learning points for let's go level 3 and then that progression into level 5, and what the differences are, I guess?
Yeah, of course, sure. So the level 3 is the level 3 certificate in understanding health and wellbeing at work. So it can be done over 6 months, and it's a delivery of 130 hours altogether, and it's delivered through blended learning. So we have masterclasses and mentoring by a wellbeing lead expert. You also have 6 units which you're asked to complete to ensure that you can show that you're able to understand what the assignments are, and you understand the learning outcomes. that's all assessed. So that assessment means that when we pass you, your assessment says that you are a certified wellbeing lead at a level 3. And in terms of the level 3, when it comes to the learning outcomes, this is where we're starting to look at some of the basic theories and models of wellbeing at work, understanding things like the New Economics Foundation model for wellbeing in the workplace, understanding the Bronfen-Brenner model, which is a health and social care model, which I use in our frameworks and in our training to help people to understand the broader determinants of mental health and wellbeing outside of the organisation. We then go into things like understanding your legal requirements. As a wellbeing lead entry level, you need to understand your legals, your policies, what social policies even interact with workplace wellbeing and wellbeing of humans. We also look at things like stress risk assessment. So we look at prevention. What's the basics of how do we prevent work-related stress and burnout? So a lot of the level 3 are all very much kind of understanding the foundations of it, understanding what wellbeing is, understanding what your 4 pillars of wellbeing would be, your prevention, your policies, and also
You're back. How are you? Take a second to breathe.
We had a power cut and went off.
Everything went off.
Everything went off. The whole
Everything went
thing. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We're back. So yeah, continue. Do you remember where you were? You were talking about. I can't remember now.
Yes, the level 3.
Yes, the level 3.
I was talking about, the level 3 certificate, understanding health and wellbeing at work. Yeah. Yes. So we also cover in that qualification how to have confident conversations about health and wellbeing, and also understanding health behavior change. If you are even at entry level and you are one of these people who have been given the task of organising wellbeing campaigns, it's really important at that level that you understand that health behaviour change and how to develop campaigns that really help to nudge people's behaviours more towards healthier behaviours for recovery as well. So that's what the level 3 does.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And then the level 5. So what's the progression from into the level 5 then?
So the level 4 will be the level 4 certificate in applied workplace wellbeing practice. That's currently in development, and we will be launching that probably April time next year. But level 5, obviously, it's our flagship really that we've been running for a couple of years now. So it's called the level 5 advanced certificate in strategic wellbeing leadership, and it is again currently the only accredited level 5 qualification of its kind right now. So with the level 5, this is a bit of a different ball game. It's 370 learning hours. It's 12-month qualification. You learn through a mix of masterclasses, live masterclasses that we record so people can play it back anytime throughout the 12 months of the learning. They also have 12 units to complete, and these units are everything from building your business case, making sure you're collecting and understanding your data of the impacts of poor mental health and wellbeing, developing a 4-year strategy with your 4 wellbeing pillars, looking at demographics and how to align your wellbeing strategy with the demographics, as well as the organisational risks happening around mental health and wellbeing, and then delivering a 12-year action plan. So this really does show that you have the practical, not just the theory, but the practical skills, the behaviours to actually develop and deliver on a 4-year mental health and wellbeing strategy. So it's a little bit different to the level 3.
Mm-hmm. And then you see that progression, right? And you see how that fits in. is there anything else that you want to add to this on the programs, how that's helping, and maybe some of the impact you've seen?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I mean, one of our learners who started with her, which is all collecting your data, what she found was that work-related stress, personal stress, and poor mental health was accounted for 41% of their sickness absence, which was huge, right? So what she managed to do over 12 months of delivering our mental health framework. So we do have our own framework built around the Bronfenbrenner model for health behaviour change, integrated with the legal requirements, and also the Thriving at Work standards and the NICE guidelines. So it's a really integrated framework. She delivered her mental health pillar over 12 months using our framework and reduced their sickness absence by 40% due to poor mental health and stress.
Wow.
So that really does show you the impact of strategy, knowledge, the frameworks, ensuring that you're delivering to a goal. We had a goal. There was a goal there that had to be achieved, and that strategy and action plan was all based around achieving that one objective. So it just shows how the qualification does receive some big impacts from our learners on there.
Yeah, okay, and that's just one person, right? And so you can see the impact of understanding data. And I think people forget that importance of data and understanding that to make your decisions on what you're doing, but also be able to question the data in a bit more detail. Look, when we're talking about data and talking about strategy, let's move into strategy, just conscious of time. What does a wellbeing strategy mean to you, and what are the key parts of a wellbeing strategy?
Okay, so a wellbeing strategy for me is a 4-year strategy, and this is based around, why are we doing this? The strategy is your why. It's the problems we need to solve. It's the goals we need to achieve. It's the ambitions of the organization that says, over 4 years, this is what we want to achieve. Your action is how you're going to get there. So the way that I kind of explain it when I'm teaching this is the strategy is to be in Croatia beside the pool with a cocktail, relaxing. That's my strategic goal of my holiday. My action plan would be, okay, well, how am I going to get there? How am I going to make sure that I actually achieve that goal? What flights do I need to take? What hotel am I staying at? Does it have a pool that I can sit around? Where am I going to get this cocktail from? So the action plan is a very different part to a strategy. And a lot of people get that wrong. They think that because we're doing things in an action plan, that's their strategy. But as you can see, a strategy, actions without a strategy means we could end up, I don't know, in Turkey at the pool and not achieved any of the goals that we really wanted to achieve. So that's why strategy needs an action plan, but what wellbeing strategy means to me. In terms of a wellbeing strategy pillars, we look at the 4 main ones, which is physical health, mental health, financial well-being, and social well-being as the 4 main pillars of a wellbeing strategy. But again, a lot of that is around understanding the social determinants, the individuals, personal situations that can be improved, but also what can we do within the organization to improve mental health, physical health, financial well-being, and social well-being as well. So we're looking at it from those 2 different sides. We also ensure that all of our learners are also looking at integrating recovery-friendly practices into their wellbeing strategies. This is about raising awareness, tackling a lot of the shame and stigma, and supporting people who are struggling with drug or alcohol problems or behavioural addictions. We can't talk about suicide prevention. We can't talk about mental health and stress without talking about addiction. It is a very normal response, not just a human response, even a mammalian response. We can even get rats addicted to cocaine by stressing it out. So this is a very natural response that we have, that we seek things to make us feel better. And they could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be porn, it could be any other type of addiction, behavioral addictions like gambling. So the last bit of research we did, we asked 200 wellbeing leads if they were looking at recovery-friendly workplace practices in their wellbeing strategy, and less than 3% of those 200 said that they were. So again, we need a new movement to bring recovery-friendly workplaces aligned with, mental health, physical well-being, financial well-being, social well-being, because addiction impacts all of those. Poor mental health can trigger addiction. Poor physical health can trigger addiction. Addiction can cause poor physical and mental health. Addiction can cause financial implications, financial stress, because being alone, being isolated can trigger addiction. And we saw that with a lot of the research around Rat Park back in the 80s. But then, we had our own version of Rat Park when COVID happened. When COVID happened, we were so isolated, under a huge amount of stress. And we saw drug and alcohol deaths increase by 16% during COVID. So this was a real life Rat Park where we had all of these stresses and isolation, and people were turning to drink and drugs and other behavioral addictions to manage those levels of stress. So not only do we look at those 4 pillars, we are helping our wellbeing leads to start thinking about, okay, well, how do you bring in recovery-friendly practices into those pillars? Because we can no longer keep it as, I call it, the last taboo of workplace wellbeing. It's the thing that we're still talking about or addressing.
I think it sounds like it's the awareness for the other things outside of those 4 pillars, or looking at the things that can impact those 4 pillars as well, by the sounds of it. Because recovery and addiction can impact those 4 things, as well as other areas. Debt, for example, will impact those other 4 pillars: mental health, physical health, social. And so understanding those things and then trying to look around the data to see what it is that is impacting the data.
Yeah, absolutely. And and this, again, is just a lack of education for wellbeing leads and people who are leading on this. Having an addiction is one of the biggest risks for suicide. Yeah, if you ask a company, do you have a suicide prevention policy, they probably say no, but we've got mental health. Mental health first aiders don't understand about addiction, they don't understand about recovery, and all the implications that brings along. So it's about being able to connect all of the dots, because, as I said, humans are a complex, messy system. Systems, we're not islands. We've got to be able to connect all these together to ensure that we are, if we are serious about suicide prevention as a business, then how do you ensure that you're preventing work-related stress? Because work-related stress has been known to account for approximately 10% of suicides every year. So if you're serious about suicide prevention, then you should be serious about it. But often we find that people will say we're serious about it, but actually nobody's doing stress risk assessments in that business, and everybody's stressed and burnt out, but they've got 50 mental health first aiders, and that was the answer.
One thing come out is, I know you don't like mental health first aiders, but I guess looking at the strategy standpoint, understanding, so we're thinking about the listeners listening who maybe don't have wellbeing strategy or implementing their wellbeing strategy. Where do we start? What's the most important thing that we need to be doing to get this in place and looking at all these key parts?
Yeah, I mean, what we can do is give people our free ebook. How I do that, can I put it in the events? Where can I put it? I can put a link in somewhere for people to download that, or they can just find it on the Wellbeing Lead Academy website, which is wellbeingleadacademy.uk, in our resources. It's completely free. This little ebook just gives you a basic understanding of what is a strategy and you need to build your strategy, including data. But I think ultimately the first step really is to get your butt into the boardroom, sat down with the board, with the CEO, and talk about the importance of this, because it has to be led at the top. And ultimately, strategy, when it is done really well, is actually the CEO's secret weapon. If you think about, what the CEO, what the senior leadership team are trying to achieve, they're trying to achieve engaged, productive workforces that achieve high levels of profit. Hopefully, they're a purposeful leader and are achieving profit so that it can be invested back into people, back into the planet. But it has to start there. And one of the reasons I say that is, some of the data that if you can pull it off and take it to your CEO will be data that will make a CEO really sweat, because the business case is really clear at the end of the day. Employees with high levels of well-being, the more creative, the more loyal, the more productive, having a culture that fosters well-being and human thrive, and it attracts and retains the best talent. And if you're a CEO that wants to grow and build a business, you need the best talent in there. Not only does it come with up to £11 return on investment for a really well thought out and developed strategy, but the best workplaces actually outperform the FTSE All-Share Index by 4%. So this is actually a strategic CEO outcome that they've got to be bought into, and they have to be shown, they have to be educated around why the wellbeing lead and a wellbeing strategy can actually help them to achieve their business strategy. Yeah. So you've got to get in there, you've got to have the conversations, but we also find that many wellbeing leads, the middle level managers, they're just so far disconnected from the senior leadership team that, that's even quite scary. But this is what we do at the Wellbeing Lead Academy, is we help you to know your numbers, to build that business case, to get it into that boardroom so that people sit up and pay attention, and that they realize that this isn't something fluffy that we need to be winging. This is actually a strategy to help businesses be more competitive and also improve human well-being at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting there, because I was going to say, my next comment was like start with the why, but the why is the data sometimes, right? It's actually understanding the data and then being able to go in and get the why showcased, why it's important.
Yeah.
And then it's being able to translate that in and figure out from that, because once you've got that, then it defines where you need to go and what you need to put your budget towards, which is a different separate conversation in general, because it does seem like budgets for wellbeing is being cut in every direction. And maybe that's the next step and next stage, is being able to change the language around well-being and in the impact it just being happy and healthy and performing well brings.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of education needs to happen, and we've got to get this information in front of senior leaders, even in the conferences, business conferences there are no CEOs. They're just not doing it. They don't understand how important it is, you know. And maybe it's changing language, or maybe it's just educating them and getting in front of the right people with the right numbers, with the right data, and the right people having the confidence and the competence to actually, you know, say that, you know, this is really important and this is why, and this is what it's doing to our business right now. And if your strategy is all about growth over the next 12 months, we're not going to be growing with our sickness absence this high and our reputation so low due to stress and burnout. So it's just about speaking the CEO's language, I think, rather than changing how they would talk about their business strategy.
Yeah. Awesome. Emily, 5-2. I did say we'd finish at 5-2. So thank you ever so much for your time.
I hope you're going to edit this. Are you going to edit that bit out, Rich?
I'm going to have to, aren't I? So yeah, then it might take a little while before this becomes live on Spotify and YouTube, when I finally get some time to do that. But yeah, no, thank you for your time. Where can people find you? LinkedIn's obviously one here. I know you're going to put the ebook onto the comments and also share your website, but is there anything else that people can do? Emily?
Sorry, you went off funny there. Yes.
Yeah, just saying, is there anything else? I said, obviously you're going to put some material into the comments. Is there anything else that you can do, or is there any other way people can find you? Mainly through the website and through LinkedIn, I can imagine.
Yeah, get on the website, register, sign up to our newsletter, because we're always sharing complimentary webinars, CPD. We provide free CPD for Wellbeing Leads, HR professionals, and anyone else that's interested in improving wellbeing in the workplace. So website is always a great place to start, and sign up for our newsletter to get all the information that we share.
Exactly. And then you get to sign up to my workshop, which the Wellbeing Lead Academy are getting on the 18th of September.
Yes.
I'll plug that as well, right? So yeah, do sign up to the newsletter. Keep an eye on what we're doing. And yeah, any questions, drop us away for line. But everybody, thank you for joining us if you're still here. Really appreciate it. Emily, thank you again for joining me and sharing your insights. Keep an eye out for the next one with Nick, looking at teams and how we create and develop team dynamics within organizations. So it's going to be really interesting. But for all, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.